Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. Howdy, Dakapolion. Thank you, I appreciate that. It's always a good positive way to start my day. Thank you, I appreciate that. We've got a few things on the docket. Not much variety, but hey, we still got some headlines to run through. I also owe Kal-El a cute animal video, so I've got that in my back pocket. I appreciate that. Let me just make sure we got everything going. Alright, so I think that today we're going to start with a cute animal video. I think that's a good positive way to start.
It is endless.
Gigantic manatee just laying on the sand. To find an animal that large laying on the bank, I've never seen that before. She was too far away from the water. She could have rolled around as much as she wanted, and she never would have made it there. If the construction crew hadn't found her, she might not have been found at all. She might have just been left there until a boat happened by. They'd been there every morning, and they'd seen manatees in the water, but not one laying on the ground. The bulldozer operator saw this large shape lying nearby and went to check it out, otherwise nobody would have seen her. Usually animals that are that large don't tidally strand that often. The water was higher, I guess, than even she had anticipated, but the water receded around her. She could have been trying to get away from males. Sometimes manatees will beach themselves when that happens. I'm a manatee research assistant. I track the animals that we tag and I help tag them. All these humans are running around her like crazed ants. Usually with an animal that large, you would expect at least 10 very strong people, and we did not have that. She was 1,700 pounds minimum.
Wow.
So we finally got all the straps under her, and when we went to roll her, nothing happened. Okay, everyone over here, really put your backs into it. We actually couldn't get all of our measurements because we didn't have enough people to fully roll her over and take the measurements. When I started putting the belt on her, I had to double check the sizes because it was literally the biggest belt that we have.
That was a good feel-good story to start the day. And of course, Kal-El, if you're in chat or when you get in chat, we'll give you another one. How's that? Now look, another one just popped up 19 minutes ago while we were watching this one. Alright, so we'll just leave this in our back pocket, huh? A animal video redeem. Yes, that's right. Kal-El redeemed a cute animal video at the very last second. Last stream. Don't worry, we'll keep this in our back pocket. How's it going, Pat Rat? A Capitol riot suspect accused of attacking police during the insurrection fled to the country and is now claiming asylum in Belarus. Ah, nice meme. Catch up, that was an odd end reigned and redeemed last second. Thanks for asking. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it happens sometimes. It's all good. We're having so much fun that sometimes we don't even realize the time, so it's all good. A Capitol riot suspect accused of attacking police during the insurrection has fled the country and is claiming asylum in Belarus. Evan Newman, 48, is on the FBI's most wanted list for charges related to the US Capitol riot on January 6. Newman faces 6 charges, including assaulting officers, obstructing law enforcement, knowingly entering the Capitol without permission, and violent conduct, according to documents filed by the US District Court. But just after the month of the court documents were filed, Newman sold his California house and fled to Ukraine in summer to avoid arrest. Wow, nice meme. So this dude just literally packed it up and ran. Because, of course, that's what normal tourists do, right? Yeah, these were just grandmas for Trump at the insurrection, right? These were just grandmas for Trump. It was just a tour. It was just your standard tour that, you know, because that's what happens when you do a standard tour. You make sure that you flee the country. You make sure that you flee the country and ask for asylum. Because you totally didn't do anything wrong. Nice meme. Hey, Bub Dragon. So they had a warrant for his arrest for a month before he was able to sell his house and flee the country. Yeah. I'm going to assume, and mind you, this is the most charitable interpretation of what probably happened. Of course, pending more information, but I'm going to conjecture that they've had over 500 people to deal with when it comes to this insurrection. So it is quite possible that all of these things are in the back pocket, just in the back end, you know? There's like hundreds of cases, all coming one by one. So I'm going to assume, and again, to give the most charitable interpretation, is that, well, I mean, with 500 plus cases like this, I mean, geez. Newman appeared on Belarus state TV this weekend, according to the Moscow Times. The man initially traveled to Italy in March and made his way to Ukraine where he rented an apartment for 4 months, Belarus One reported. He said Ukrainian security services were following him after 2 weeks, so he fled to Belarus. A Belarus state TV presenter said Newman was being persecuted by the US government. That's a nice meme. Apparently, consequences for your actions in his world feels like persecution. Hey Alio, how's it going? Asylum seeking for the January 6 charges might be legit, but it's pushing it, but Trump supporters don't like asylum seekers. Yeah, they it's all, like I said, it's all one just giant meme. However, I'm not sure that you running away for you trying to run away from consequences of the actions that you took counts or constitutes as asylum, because generally speaking, when you are claiming asylum, there must be a legitimate threat that you're being persecuted, whether it be by the government or whether your life is legitimately in danger. Then you would seek asylum, which is the reason why the folks coming from, like Central America and stuff like that, that's why they decide to drop everything and travel thousands and thousands of miles, because that's the only option left. This guy, not really. This guy's just too scared to accept the consequences of his own actions. But yes, it is pretty hypocritical about complaining about asylum seekers and then ends up trying to seek asylum himself. Nice meme. I mean, I guess he's welcome to try. Yeah, so this dude with the victim complex is not being persecuted by the US government. He decided to take actions on January 6th, which have consequences. That's it. Full stop. You can't just like... So, and again, these are the same folks who are all about the, quote, back the blue or whatever. Buddy over here is being charged, allegedly, with assaulting an officer, obstructing law enforcement, knowingly entering the Capitol without permission, and violent conduct. Yeah, this guy sounds, like he isn't being persecuted by the US government. Central America is notoriously violent, whether it be cartel violence or gang violence or state violence. Like, if you lived in Central America, trust me, you'd be trying to get out too. Yep, I'm from there. That's true. Let me rephrase that. My family is from there. This is not the same, like homonyms just said. This is not the same as you trying to run away from receiving consequences for your behavior. Not the same. Not at all. Where in Central America are they from? My parents are from Guatemala and Costa Rica. Thanks, of course. Here's a $1 million question. Does Belarus have a extradition pact treaty, or are they just gonna keep him? I've been to Costa Rica, Belize, and Honduras, but not Guatemala yet. I would recommend, depending on where you go. Did they run from the Civil War? No, I don't think so. I think that it was just mainly that, they had no choice. There's no opportunity. Plus, it's a very violent environment. It's a very violent environment, and they could either stay there or attempt to make a better life. My mom is Cuban. Nice. I'm not sure if America understands other countries and cultures, but it may change. Oh, yeah, I mean, like, it depends on where you are, but some places are a bit more of a melting pot than others. For example, if you go to South Florida, you will find that there's a lot of different cultures and countries here in South Florida. It's a massive melting pot down here. Costa Rica, though, Costa Rica is pretty chill. Costa Rica is pretty chill. And I think that if people are coming to your country because they think their country is not a good environment for them to raise their children, I take that as a compliment. Right. Right. You would think so, homonyms, but instead they twist it around and say they're invaders. Instead, they twist it around and say they're coming to replace you. And whatever nonsense conspiracy theory they drum up. Are there still many Cubans there from 1960, 1980 in Miami? Not sure now. Oh yeah, this is, yeah, trust me, there it is. No extradition treaty with Belarus, but that doesn't mean they won't. No one wants a jerk in their country. Well, I mean, it's very authoritarian. I forget, is Belarus the very authoritarian country over there? Was it Belarus? There's a ton of Cubans here in Florida from what I hear, and they love to vote Republican too. True. Very true. Very true. But like, you have a weird dynamic. Yes, okay, thank you. We have a very weird dynamic because you would think, I guess you have like pockets. Like, you would think that like South Florida, like I would say like, for example, Miami-Dade, you would think because of the overwhelming, well, there's a lot of Cuban people here, but it always turns out pretty blue. It's always a weird dynamic, isn't it? It's a weird dynamic. Maybe there's pockets. But yes, I would suspect that most Cubans vote Republican, the overwhelming majority. The MAGA machine gossip online because about Biden. Well, yeah, I mean, that's par for the course. It's because of the socialism scare that Republicans push. Oh yeah, I believe it, Pat Rat. Remember, folks, if it's a Democratic candidate, you can rest assured it's a socialist candidate. But I live in Massachusetts, so not totally Cuban. Yeah. It's very effective. Pat Rat, it's very effective. Anyways, this is a nice meme. I hope he doesn't, I hope his asylum... Maybe this will give him a fresh perspective on life. I hope his asylum thing gets rejected. I hope he gets extradited back here and gets a fresh perspective, especially when it comes to asylum seekers, and faces consequences for his actions. You know, personal responsibility and all. Michael Flynn, Jason Miller, John Eastman subpoenaed in January 6 probe. It's about to get really good. The House Committee investigating the deadly Capitol invasion said Monday it issued subpoenas to have several high-profile allies of former President Trump, including former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, which has become some type of like QAnon propagator, proponent of QAnon. I don't know. I guess that would be the word. And former campaign advisor Jason Miller. Also subpoenaed was John Eastman, the lawyer who spoke at Trump's rally outside the Capitol on January 6 before the riot began. Eastman is the author of the infamous memo that laid out a legally dubious case for Vice President Mike Pence to reject Joe Biden's Electoral College victory in the 2020 election. Yeah, so all of these folks have some type of responsibility in some way, shape, or form. I mean, if you continue to push this narrative that the election was stolen, and you continue to push this idea that you have no recourse, you have to save your country, you have to take your country back, it's been stolen, and of course the elections are rigged so you can't just vote, then what did you think was going to happen? Michael Flynn, was that the chief bureaucrat of the DIA? I think he was a general. He was a general, and then he was a advisor, national security advisor to the Trump administration. Other Trump associates to be issued subpoenas were Bill Stepien, the Trump 2020 campaign manager, Angela McCollum, national executive assistant to the campaign, and Bernard Kerik, a former New York City police commissioner who reportedly participated in a meeting at a Washington hotel the night before the invasion wherein allies brainstormed the efforts to overturn the election. Mind you, this is the alleged meeting where Steve Bannon boasted on his podcast Live on Air that he was going to try to, quote, kill the Biden presidency in its infancy. Yeah. Steve Bannon, who refused to comply with the congressional subpoena, who will most likely, well, we'll see, supposedly face consequences for that too. Miller, along with former senior Trump advisor Steve Bannon and Trump's former personal attorney Rudy Giuliani, was also reportedly involved in the January 5th meeting at DC's Willard Hotel. The group of Trump allies, the latest to be subpoenaed for documents and testimony by the January 6th Select Committee, are tied to efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. The Six Figures depositions are scheduled to take place between the end of November and mid-December. McCollum is set to be deposed first on November 30th, followed by Kerik, Flynn, Eastman, Miller, with the final deposition for Stepien scheduled for December 13th. The committee needs to know every detail about their efforts to overturn the election, including who they were talking to in the White House and in Congress, and what connections they had with rallies that escalated into a riot, and who paid for it all. Well, I suspect that Mr. Charlie Kirk may or may not have, whether loosely or directly, ties to this too. Thompson said the committee expects all witnesses to cooperate with its probe to help ensure that nothing like January 6 ever happens again. Less than 3 weeks earlier, the House voted to hold Bannon in contempt for Congress for refusing to comply with a subpoena to hand over documents to the committee and sit for deposition. Robert Costello, an attorney for Bannon, had told the committee that former Trump advisor would not comply with the subpoena in accordance with a directive from the Trump counsel, who argued that the materials were protected by executive privilege. Except, Steve Bannon was not operating under any executive at the time. He was a private citizen. The Select Committee rejected that claim. The Biden administration declined to invoke that privilege to prevent the archivist of the United States from sending a tranche, Majority Report reference, of records to the House investigators. Trump has sued to block congressional committee's request for records from the White House during his single term in office, which is, again, something that a totally innocent person does. Right? Nothing says I'm innocent. Nothing says I'm innocent like continuously to block and stifle investigations that would implicate you. Or, if you really were innocent, could just simply exonerate you and be done with it. exactly homonyms. Charlie Kirk probably did have some ties to January 6th, right? If not financially, encouraged that shit with his talk show. Oh yeah, of course. And he also helped with transporting people there, I believe. Yeah, I'm innocent, I swear. The committee leader said at the time of the contempt vote that dozens of witnesses and entities have been contacted as part of the probe, but that Bannon was the only person to completely defy one of its subpoenas. On Friday, the panel warned that ex-Department of Justice official Jeffrey Clark that it will take strong measures to hold him accountable after he alleged to refuse to answer any questions during a closed interview. After the 2020 race was called for Biden, Clark had proposed that the Justice Department encourage key states to reject their presidential electors. According to a Senate Judiciary Committee report titled Subverting Justice, how the former president and his allies pressured DOJ to overturn the 2020 election. Except that's not how that works. I don't even know what the plan was here. The Select Committee is tasked with investigating the facts and cause of the January 6th invasion when hundreds of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol and forced a joint session of Congress to flee their chambers. Shortly before the rioters broke into the building, Trump, who had spent months spreading a wide array of election fraud conspiracy theories, told throngs of its supporters to march to the Capitol and pressure Republicans to reject the election results. Again, what did they expect to happen? Like, that's not how it's done, okay? None of that is a method for overturning the election. That's like the process there. That's not how it works at all. The attack led to multiple deaths and temporarily stopped lawmakers from confirming Biden's electoral victory. Trump has never conceded to Biden and continues to proliferate debunked and baseless claims about the 2020 election being rigged against him, a falsehood and dubbed the big lie by his critics. Yeah, at this point it's like, what, a year? Now we're approaching a year, and he's still crying about it. He's still perpetuating lies and outright conspiracy theories. I wouldn't be surprised if people like Ben Shapiro or Michael Knowles had financial ties with the rioters. I wonder if they could get him on something like that. I doubt. Maybe homonyms, maybe, but that's a tough one to prove. Wow, it's been almost a year. What happened to time? It flew, didn't it? It flew with all of these things happening. So, I guess back to back. Does seem like we've just been in one giant roller coaster. With all of these things happening back to back, it just seems like it's been one giant roller coaster. The panel comprising seven Democrats and 2 Republicans was formed over the summer by House Speaker Pelosi. An earlier bill to set up a 9/11 style commission would have allowed Democratic and Republican leaders to each appoint half the members, but Senate Republicans shot down that proposal. Because again, that's what innocent people do. Mind you, they had complete and equal subpoena power. They could have called their own witnesses. They could have been way more involved and pushed back harder should they have been interested. But of course, that would mean they'd actually have to put up, and I don't think they have much to put there. Not convinced they have much to put. The TLDR is this is going to get really spicy, I think. I think that as time goes by, this is going to get really spicy. Technically, the voters of the Electoral College can vote however they want. there is this concept of a faithless elector, but it's never happened before in US history. Like, if the Republican Electoral College voter supported Trump and voted in his favor, that'd be like one DEFCON 1 enemies forcing to end domestic type shit. Yeah, but like, it has happened before where you have like one faithless like elector, but it's really kind of a pointless institution if you think about it. If you really think about it, when you just kind of mold that around your head, you kind of start to think like the electoral college is kind of antiquated, and it's kind of like democracy with unnecessary steps. Because at the end of the day, you're right, homonyms. What if one day they just say F you to everybody and choose somebody else? That's not democracy. I didn't vote that way. Hey, Danarchist. Sorry, I'm late. I was taking some anti-vaxxers to task on YouTube. Hi from Holland. Hello. Howdy. They just didn't want it to happen because they knew there was something good about this for their side. True, exactly, Pat Red. They believed the cause was actual fraud. They could have brought that into the investigation and wasted everybody's time. Right, like, if you have evidence and you really have legitimate proof, then it would be a no-brainer to be like, yeah, you know what? We want equal subpoena power. We've got receipts. But of course, that's not what happened. They don't want that. In fact, they're actively trying to stifle it. Which again, is what totally innocent people do. Yeah, the Electoral College is just affirmative action for Republicans. Yeah, this is standard procedure for the Trumps. True. True. Hey, Silver Night Dragon. Very true. It is an antiquated, undemocratic institution. Because, well, first of all, there's no real, like, checks and balances to the Electoral College, is there? To my knowledge. And furthermore, what's exactly the point? Like, shouldn't it be, shouldn't like a democracy function as like, okay, if majority of people voted for X candidate, then that candidate should win. I mean, like, that's kind of how we run every single race is literally like that. Every single race, every senatorial race, every local election race is literally like that. Every congressional race. It's almost as if they were worried that the investigation might implicate them. Exactly, Dakapolian, you got it. The Electoral College has already subverted democracy. Trump didn't win in 2016. Hillary won. She got the most popular vote, but Trump won the Electoral College. Right, like, yeah, like, that would be a scenario. Well, it seems to me like every time this happens, the popular vote just doesn't count. That's not really. I mean, like, for the most part, it is true whoever wins the popular vote does end up winning the Electoral College vote, but, like, it doesn't always happen that way, and it's kind of, then, and what's the point? One of the rationales for the Electoral College is that it makes margin of victory larger. Biden won by around 50 points in the Electoral College, but he won the popular vote by around 2 points. Yeah, but, like, okay, sure, but, then that just tells me that he still won, but maybe he wasn't as popular. Maybe he wasn't as popular. Maybe he only won because people wanted Trump out, and they eked out a victory simply on the premise of Trump's failures. Which is what happened. It wasn't, whatever the reason he won by a landslide, it wasn't close. Well, I would say it was a lot. I would say it wasn't that big of a victory, but nonetheless, he still won. Howard Glenn Krishner's replied to this, and he's hoping that the judge will fast-track the decision to set a precedent of not allowing junk filings just to slow things down. Yeah, that would be a very good point, Silver Knight Dragon. Maybe I'm wrong, Kinetic Pause. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. That would be a very good idea, Silver Knight Dragon, to like set precedent for not allowing like frivolous lawsuits that have no basis in merit. Because I mean, there were just what, over 60 plus. Maybe the Dems, or maybe hey Memo, maybe the Dems know by that 2024 so many hours will have that. Oh no, I don't know about that. Literally the only reason I voted Biden was because he wasn't Trump. Right, it's not because like Biden had some type of like inspiring candidacy awaiting. It's just a matter of like, hey, we've got to slow this down. This is not looking good. We need to stop this in its tracks. I'm not sure, Memo. I'm not really buying that. I think that the Republican Party is going to look very strong. They need to increase the amount of the House? Like, representatives, you mean? Republicans have no reason to remove the Electoral College because what happens if they do? I'll tell you what happens. The country overwhelmingly agrees with Democrats on economic issues, and the majority agree with Democrats on social issues. The Republicans would either have to move left or they would fade into irrelevance in their place, while their place would probably be taken by some party that is further to the left compared to Democrats. Right, it would end up being some type of like left versus like Dems. That's right, the new Pfizer pill will mitigate deaths now. That's right, there is a new Pfizer pill out there, which seems to be very promising. Ranked choice voting, nothing else matters. I think that you are correct in terms of how to democratize, how to move in a more democratic way, is doing ranked choice voting. House members would make the Electoral College more equitable and doesn't require a constitutional amendment. Interesting. Interesting. Does Congress have the ability to expand itself? Push it at all levels and only vote for people who promise to do it. Yeah, I think that I think that another alternative to doing that, Memo, is to do ballot initiatives or state constitutional amendments to allow for ranked choice voting. So check if your state allows a ballot initiative or amendments that aren't really pushed by like a particular party. Yeah, and you might get it done. You might get it done. It's done by statute. Gotcha. Yeah, if they expand the House, that would be good. You increase the House and you get rid of the filibuster. Both don't require constitutional amendments. True. I'm all in favor of whatever it is to democratize in as many ways as possible. Yeah, so I suspect that we're going to find a lot more information coming. I just mentioned I support Biden, and Electoral College is part of the Constitution, so an amendment... is the Electoral College part of the Constitution? I forget, to be honest. I think they don't expand because there would be no place for them to sit in the House. Oh, literally? Well, I mean, you can make a bigger house. You could always make a bigger house. Or reorganize it. Hey, Spread It Forward, how's it going? They also have increased roles of referendums. Like, imagine if issues like wage or healthcare is left to a public vote. Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. Because usually what happens is the public overwhelmingly votes more progressive in these terms, right? Like raising wages every time that comes up in a ballot initiative or referendum. They always vote to increase wages, like in Florida. Florida is a ruby red state. Florida is a ruby red state and has voted to increase the minimum wage, has voted to give felons who have served their time the right to vote again. So yeah, when you leave things to like the public, like referendums and ballot initiatives, people are generally speaking more progressive when it comes to those type of things. The United States Electoral College is a group of presidential electors required by the Constitution to form every 4 years for the sole purpose of electing the president and vice president. Each state appoint electors pursuant to the methods described by its legislature equal in number to its congressional delegation. Senators and representatives, federal office holders cannot be electors. UK Parliament doesn't have enough room for all the members, so you see them standing on important votes. Canada's building a new Commons floor for more space. Interesting. Rights cannot be taken or given. You either recognize rights or you don't. Yeah, that's a good point. There are lots of beautiful rights that are put on paper, but they mean nothing if you have no way of recognizing them. Just because Thailand arrests you for taking a shit on the king doesn't mean they don't recognize your right. You still have free speech as a right. Technically. Yeah, on paper, right? On paper. On paper. Anyways, folks, TLDR, I think that we're gonna find out some really interesting stuff on the coming weeks, probably months as well. The next couple of months would probably be very eye-opening when it comes to the January 6th insurrection. Don't even have a constitution. A constitution is just the Quran. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it tends to be like a trend with authoritarian kind of regimes. Representative Gosar posts Attack on Titan anime edit on Twitter that depicts him killing Representative AOC. Hey, very normal, very hinged person. Arizona representative. This guy is a representative, an elected official no less. Posted an edited anime scene on Twitter on Sunday evening that depicts him killing New York Representative AOC. The Attack on Titan spoof entitled "Attack of Immigrants." Nice with a sprinkle of xenophobia. Nice. That's the icing on the cake, isn't it? Edited killing a giant superimposed AOC. Gosar shared the video on his official Twitter account, where it has 2.6 million views at press time. The full clip, which is a minute and a half, splices footage of Gosar, immigration officials, migrants, and former President Trump with clips from the anime. Gosar, a Republican, has been a vocal supporter of Trump and has described January 6 rioters as peaceful patriots. Of course. He falsely stated in an interview with Reuters that he believes voter fraud led to former President Trump losing the 2020 election, which of course, he is part of the problem then. Since the video was posted, members of Congress, including AOC, have responded. California Representative Ted Lieu said in a tweet that it was sick behavior from Gozar in any workplace in America. If a coworker made an anime video of killing another coworker, that person would be fired. That's true. That's true. I mean, I unironically could see that in no workplace, no matter where it is, you do something like this, or you act in this behavior, or you display this behavior, that you would not be removed, or at least had a massive warning from HR. I mean, this is unacceptable behavior, no matter which way you slice it. He was just a dedicated patriot. AOC quote tweeted Liu's response and wrote, "So while I was in Rent to Glasgow, a creepy member I work with who fundraises for neo-Nazi groups shared a fantasy video of him killing me." That's actually true. Tagging House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, she wrote that Gosar faces no consequences for the video because McCarthy cheers him on with excuses. I need to see this. Yeah, we don't have to. Is there like the actual video? Wait, I thought he was attacking AOC. Was that supposed to be AOC? Oh, AOC was the giant. Okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah, complete with the, xenophobia and everything. Nice. Elected member of Congress, by the way. Just saying. They would, hey, APFSD. They would use Attack on Titan. I feel dirty that I even watched Attack on Titan. I never watched the entire anime. I think I watched like one episode. I'm not as much into anime. I've honestly I've probably seen one complete anime. But like at the same time, homonyms, why would you feel dirty for enjoying something? You know? I don't know. I've never seen Attack on Titan, but hey, if you enjoy it, just because these asshats decided to do this doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. Again, I suppose spray painting "I'm coming over to a house to put a bullet in your head" in fancy colors on the person's door is considered art now too, right? Attack on Titan is a Japanese manga written by author Hajime Isayama that exploded in popularity when it was adapted into an anime television series in 2013. The story takes place in a world within a militaristic society believing itself to be the last vestiges of humanity, lives within the confines of 3 concentric walls designed to keep out titans, or giant humanoid monsters that eat humans for sport. Yep. The series has been criticized in the past for appearing to espouse anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Uh-oh. And its tackling of fascist themes. Hajime Isayama has also drawn criticism for taking inspiration for a character in the series from an Imperial Japanese general who acted as cavalry commander in the Sino-Japanese War. Ooh. Yikes. Yikes. Never mind then. Yikes. I mean, I've done things with like friends, like a joke, but if the team of fucking politician tweets it, yeah, it's very unhinged shit. True. Gundam Wing is the only anime I've seen it in its entirety. Oh man, I used to, actually used to catch like sporadic episodes from Gundam back in the Toonami days. Well, I don't know if Toonami is still a thing. Is it? I don't have cable. I used to catch Toonami and watch sporadic episodes of Gundam Wing. Oh, it is still a thing. Gundam Wing is the only anime I've seen in its entirety. No TOS from animation. People are so weird. Yeah, like, listen. If you don't agree with AOC, whatever. If you don't like AOC, whatever. But this is crossing a line. This is crossing a line. If that's your only anime, it's an excellent choice. Attack on Titan had some anti-Semitic shit in it, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, I didn't watch the past season 2, so it might have gotten much worse, who knows? Ah. It's just a part of Adult Swim now. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was just like an anime. I think the one anime I've seen in its entirety is Death Note. Because it was short. That's true, Pat Rat. That's true. The governor of Colorado, while he was a representative, got called in front of the House Ethics Committee because he was playing League of Legends. What? He had open death threats from sitting representatives or other sitting representatives to other sitting... Yeah, and like there have been way more explicit stuff than like a revamping of an anime meme or whatever, anime intro. There have been worse things. And yet it seems to be like there is a lot of crickets, like you said. I did not know that, homonyms. Well, I guess I'm displaying my ignorance on full. My ignorance of anime is on full-on display. However, I will say this: I did enjoy the Death Note series. Well, it's a one. I think it was one season only, a couple of episodes. Wasn't that long. Very good story. Yeah, you would think that like something like this would get people benched from many committees and get sent what is it, sanctioned, censored, whatever the word is, but nah. Do you think Kevin McCarthy's gonna do anything? Fun fact, they had a Death Note sequel in 2017, I think. Not the live action movie, a sequel manga in which the main character killed on. Oh my goodness. Jesus Christ. Oh, but is that like canon or did some fan made that? Yikes. Yeah, I'm also not going to turn around and say that that's okay too, right? Was it made by a sitting representative? Yeah, that's a good question. I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it. But hey, you know, it's all cool. It's just perfectly fine to do these kind of things nowadays. I guess. I guess it's perfectly acceptable to do these things. Of course, the usual excuse will be like, oh, dude, it's just a meme, bro. Dude, it's just a joke. Dude, we didn't mean it. We're not actually telling people to do that. We're not actually telling people to Roblox her. We're not actually telling people to do anything, actually. We're just thinly veiled depictions of stuff that, you know, I like to share for some weird reason. Now that I remember it, I don't think he was killed. He just played the dude who had the death note. Ah. But yeah, that's the usual fallback response, right? Ah, it's just a joke, bro. Hey, look, it's just an anime intro, dude. That's it. Nothing wrong here. Right, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Right, yeah, that's why I said the cherry on top was all the nice little xenophobia sprinkled around. Yeah, it's just a prank, dude. It's just like, why are you guys so uptight? It's just a joke. You know? It's just a joke. Until somebody actually does something, and then they're like, whoa, I didn't see it before. I didn't see anything. I didn't do it. I didn't tell that person to do that. Remember, folks, nobody actually said to go storm the Capitol, right? Nobody said those words. Nobody said go do an insurrection. Nobody said go do a riot. They just simply said, hey, I mean, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that your country's being stolen. I'm saying that everything is rigged. You have no other recourse. I'm just saying that you should probably join us January 6th around this time. A massive amount of people, massive amount of you. You know, I'm just saying that maybe there's no alternative recourse if everything else is rigged. But don't do. Yeah. Yeah. I remember, like, in elementary school, there was a time when everything was either a prank or sarcasm, and we shouldn't get in trouble. For some reason, it never worked. Yeah, it's just jokes. It's just jokes. Crap like that should fall under bullying laws, and I don't think we have any of those. But I did see that we had to click a little thing to actually see it. They kind of put it behind a little disclaimer. I think it's a matter of inciting violence versus actually telling people to do riot. Like, even if you didn't tell the people to riot, you still incited it. Oh yeah, 100%. I'm agreeing with you, homonyms. I'm saying that this is exactly how stochastic terrorism works. Center Dems equals Republicans. Well, they're Democrats. They're just conservative Democrats. I guess for all intents and purposes, it's kind of a distinction without a difference without a distinction, or whatever the saying is. But yeah. Centrist Dems now hold cards as infrastructure bill heads to Biden's desk. Conservative Dems now control the fate of President Biden's social spending and climate package after Congress passed his bipartisan bipartisan infrastructure bill late last week. House Progressives dropped their blockade of the infrastructure bill measure Friday after they secured commitments from a narrow but pivotal group of moderate Dems who said they would vote for the Build Back Better bill after the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office released a cost analysis that matched the White House estimate, saying the legislation is fully paid for. There's a big caveat here. 5 Dem lawmakers, Representative Ed Casey, Josh Gottheimer, Stephanie Murphy, Kathleen Rice, Kurt Schrader, said in a joint statement that they committed to voting for the Build Back Better Act in its current form other than technical changes as expeditiously as we receive fiscal information from the Congressional Budget Office. The vote would take place no later than the week of November 15th as long as CBO findings are consistent with the White House projections. This is a long way of saying, but how are we going to pay for it? This is a long-winded way of saying, how are we going to pay for it? That's the only sense, yeah, exactly. Is this stochastic terrorism in the marketplace of ideas in the court of public opinion? I'm pretty sure that the US as a whole is the world's biggest playground bully. True. There's no centrists, there's only corporatists. Well, there is like corporate, yeah, there's like more corporate / conservative Dems. I'm pretty sure, yes, that's true. May I inquire, does your local go through a change to the clocks? Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Our changes already happened. The social spending package initially offered as a $3.5 trillion bill has been cut in half to $1.7 to meet the demands of skeptical Dems in the House, conservative Dems in the House and the Senate, who now have the power to tank it. Yeah, so keep in mind that it was not initially offered as 3.5. It was initially offered at 6 trillion. The 3.5 was the compromise, and then it was cut in half after that. The bill cleared a procedural vote on Friday after the infrastructure bill passed, with the House Dems voting unanimously to proceed the debate the measure after CBO issued its cost analysis. Gottheimer said on CNN that they fully intend to pass it by the end of the week. We plan to move forward because it's going to beat our expectations. Yikes. Are you sure? Are you sure it's going to meet expectations? Because, like, it might meet your expectations. The problem is, if you can't deliver a palpable win to the people, to the American people, if you can't deliver a palpable, effective, legitimately transformative legislation to the American people, they're not going to see it. They're not going to see it. It's just going to look like nothing. They removed the climate provisions from the Build Back Better and passed it, didn't they? They removed a lot of things, homonyms. They removed a lot of things. Among them, the climate provisions. Well, a good chunk of them. So you are now GMT plus 5, which is 1021. That's true. Yeah, it's the Build Back. Well, it's the Build Back to nowhere. It's a Build Back never. Progressive activists are organizing to keep the pressure on the House centrists to follow through and vote for the bill, with some feeling anxious that the left gave up its main leverage by passing the infrastructure bill before a vote on the larger spending package. Yeah, because Republicans defected. 13 of them. I do think it shifted a little bit of the power away from the progressives and towards the moderates. Representative Pramila Jayapal, the chair of Congressional Progressive Caucus, said they needed time to look at the numbers, but they would vote on it. And that is a commitment they made to me, it's a commitment they made to the president, and it's a commitment they put into writing. Jonathan Cott, a Democratic consultant and former aide to Senator Joe Manchin, said moderates will continue to negotiate in good faith as they have been. Nah, that's not good faith at all, but simply want the CBO score. If the CBO is not as expected, I think negotiations will continue, but definitely make this a longer process. If the bill passes the House, it still needs to clear the Senate, where 2 key obstacles remain. I agree. The first is President Manchin. He has objected to some of the provisions in the House bill, particularly 4 weeks of paid family leave and medical leave. That and other policies that may need to be removed to win his vote without without which Democrats cannot advance the bill. It's a bit of weird wording, but whatever. I see Republicans causing problems. I think my representatives are doing well. Merkley and Wyden. The time changes are dumb, but we have much bigger issues. I hate how distracted we get as a society. True. True. Hey, spread it forward. I don't know if I said hi to you. If Biden passes another moderated compromise bill, then the only thing that is going to save Biden is him or Blinken negotiating a peace deal in freaking Israel or Palestine or something. Not even, because, like, I don't know. I don't know if even that's enough. Homonym. The thing that will legitimately save Biden, save the Democratic Party, because I don't know if Biden's gonna run again. I think he's done. The only thing that could save the Democratic Party right now is if they, in these last couple of weeks, decide that they're gonna actually do stuff. That's literally it. It's a do or die kind of deal, right? It's sink or swim. It's a sink or swim situation. Either you produce palpable results, or you will get swept in the midterms. That's it. There is no alternative. This is, of course, based on the idea that the Dems want to continue to be the majority. This is solely based on that premise. Take that as you will. Hey, Kal-El. Hey, Darknet. We've got a cute animal video for you. Biden is electable though. Yeah, in comparison to Trump. Oh man, that literally, that was it. That was their one shot. That was their one Hail Mary. That's it. It's not even legal to strike, so I don't know how much far freedom of speech gets us. Well, it depends. I suspect it depends. In times stoners, they don't care. They just fund them to make sure they don't drift too left. Yep. We've got cute animal videos, so let's do that after this here. The second is so-called the Bird Rule, which limits the budget process and Democrats are using to matters of spending and taxes. Republicans can challenge any provisions as extraneous, and the Senate parliamentarian would decide whether it can be excluded. Because I voted for that person, of course. And I'm sure most of you have voted for the Senate parliamentarian, and I'm sure most of you know who they are. And I'm sure most of you are completely okay with how they have some weird sway. Kant says he expects the Senate to pass the bill in mid to late December. I think moderates want to make sure they get the bill right, not fast. Okay. Great. Problem. You don't have time. Okay? The problem here is you don't have time. The problem is you don't have time. The Bird Rule is a BS memo to fall back on when you don't want to pass bills. Stopping by to say hi, I'm concerned we, the progressives, are making such a big deal about what's not in the Build bill. The Build Back Better bill, we are overlooking the historic things in it. We are spreading negative information, turning people off to voting Dems. Dems will lose in 2022, and then our votes might not ever count again. Well, that's true, and I agree with you, but that seems to me, then how do we fix that? It seems like to fix that, then the Democratic Party would have to kind of get it together, don't you think? While I agree with you, it is concerning what's going to happen when they get swept. It is very concerning what is going to happen when they get swept. It's on them. It's on them to turn this around. That's why I'm being so adamant about it, okay? That's why I'm being so adamant about it, because I know that if they don't turn this around, the alternative is a lot worse. If they don't get it together, and they don't pass historic, necessary legislation, it's not going to look good for the American people. And then, it's going to turn around, and we're going to have 2 years, the last 2 years of the Biden administration to do nothing. And then because of that, they're going to say, oh, well, you know what? Look, these do nothing Dems, blah, 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 blah. They're going to lose the 2024 election. And then here's the trifecta, right? You lost the House, you lost the Senate, you're gonna lose the presidency in 2024. The Supreme Court is pretty much cemented to a conservative majority, pretty much. Then what? This isn't me. Like, I don't think that's pretty alarmist. I think that's pretty on the cards. I want it all to change now. We work hard to get progressives in. So imagine Sima are in a factor. We celebrate the small wins, spread positivity about them, and we have to get what we can in smaller bits. The ugly reality of our system, sure. But problem is, that's not gonna cut it for the American people. Like, the problem is, like, and I get it, I really do, and I try to be as positive in whatever areas that we can. Like I said, you know, things like, for example, the child tax credits, the American Rescue Plan was good, but like these small things are just getting us back to zero, back to like level playing field. We need something, okay? We need something, and I feel like that's not really on us. I feel like the Dems are digging their own grave, whether they're doing it on purpose or whether they're just sort of short-sighted that they can't seem to grasp what they need to do. That they're just gonna lose. That we're just gonna lose completely. It will be a bloodbath. Will the 2022 midterms be a bloodbath for the Dems? Yeah, I think so. I see what you're saying. So many things in that bill will help Americans. That would be the conversation if ours were in it. What would this conversation be if ours were in? We would talk about how we would be talking about how bad we are marching towards in the wrong direction. Even if small moving, it's not moving enough to get more. We have to aim to the moon and take the clouds and try again. Something like that, Pat Rat. Something like that. So like the thing is, I'm not a fan of accelerationism because like, what does that mean? What does that entail? Okay, what does that entail? Will that do more harm? I don't know. I'm skeptical about that. I'm skeptical about accelerationism because I'm afraid of the consequences of what that means. What I'm saying is it's already here. The Dems didn't make a compromise. The Dems didn't make a compromise to stay in office. I said they're doing it on purpose as they talk about how there must be action yet sit on their rears. Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, political talks, they won their majority. The presidency may be a little bit unique, because, well, Trump's incompetency, Trump defeated Trump, no doubt about it. Trump defeated Trump, right? The presidency is the presidential election was a different scenario, but the senatorial races and the House races, to make sure that the Democratic Party maintained its majority in the House and maintained, or won, I should say, a unlikely scenario in Georgia where they would win 2 seats. They had to win 2 seats. They won on the platform, on a specific platform, right, to deliver for the American people. The problem is, it's not happening. It's not manifesting themselves. It's not manifesting itself when it could. There'd be a different story if we didn't have like a, if we didn't have enough like senators or anything like that, and be like, hey, look, we actually physically cannot do it. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we can do. Here's how we're trying. But they're not doing that. They have the Senate. And it's like, well, you won. The American people delivered you the Senate on the premise that X, Y, and Z would get done. They elected you on the premise of X, Y, and Z. The problem is, we're not delivering when we could. Okay, that's the issue. The Democratic Party isn't delivering when they can. When the ball is in their court and they're about to drop it. If they don't get their collective ish together within the next couple of weeks, I should say, maybe the next month or 2, max. It's done. It's done. We need to keep making the average worker's life better. True. I think most vote just on cultural issues now instead of policy. Oh my god. You might have a point, which is a whole other ballgame, Callow. The DNC knows there are problems. Yeah, I can name you them. I can name you them. I feel like if Biden doesn't run and Kamala runs, or even Biden does run, how likely would it be that somebody like Bernie or some other progressive in the vice presidential seat? Unlikely. Unlikely that that would happen. And I seriously don't think that Biden's going to run. I think that they're going to make a massive mistake. And I think that they're going to run Kamala Harris. And while she may be preferable to a Biden re-election, I'm not sure she has the national profile to actually win a general election. The GOP cares about ideology and the Dems care about making the GOP happy. Yeah. The Dems are just such bad strategists. Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, like, the platform is there. That's why they won. The platform is there. That's why they won. That was the moderate platform. That was the moderate platform. Okay? That was the moderate platform. The idea of maybe raising minimum wages. The idea of giving tuition-free college, even if it's just 2 years. That was the moderate platform. That was. The infrastructure bill is a giant giveaway to corporos and doesn't focus enough on the things that we need. Is a net negative for climate as well. Without this reconciliation bill, the whole thing is a net negative. Right? This is a Hail Mary. This is a do or die kind of deal. The ball is in their court. Okay? I can't do much more than that. The platform that got them to power, but the lack of action will ruin them. Yeah, basically, that is in all, it's the situation, that we're in. And I would say that that is the exact assessment that I've arrived to, because they were elected on a specific platform to do X, Y, and Z, and they haven't delivered on it. And it's not that I expect them to do everything, to your point, Zenshine 9, and I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate that. I really do. It's not that I expect them to do everything, but you've got to put points on the board. You've got to put points on the board. And this ain't it. Ball's in your court. Ball's in your court. I just don't see the DNC picking a progressive candidate on a ticket with Kamala. I think the DNC sees as Kamala as a progressive, which she is certainly not. We are here talking about it when we're out and help. We can say positive things about it, but that should have gone further, and the Republicans would not have made it go further. Yeah, I mean, just objectively, they're not. They're all in pretty much unison opposition to it. If we're also concerned about our country and politics, we have responsibility to volunteer and help them to get elected. Dems didn't win, Biden won. States that actually elected more Republicans always appreciate you too, ADT. Yeah, I mean, like like we can have on the ground movements, or I should say grassroots movements, to try to get the results that we want, because at the end of the day, that's an avenue we have. Just to be clear, electoralism is a tool. Electoralism is a tool. That's it. That is it. You go out there and you participate because you can, and you should. That's it. But that doesn't mean that you stay asleep. That doesn't mean that you stay asleep and that's it. You just, fill in your ballot every 4 years and move on. That's not what that means. Harris should have set herself up as a de facto intern in the Department of State to get some foreign policy experience. Yeah, I don't know. Watch the Republicans get elected on platforms and do the same thing what the Dems are doing. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know about that political talks. I think that when they get into power, they enact their platform, which is what scares me. They're much more efficient at that. I believe that they're much more efficient at enacting their platform. I see them being much more better at doing so. If the previous candidates are any sign for what's to come, we're doomed AF. Yeah, like specifically when it comes to like climate change, it's effed. It's effed. That's because the Dems vote for it, but then they help the Republicans. They want the same shit. Maybe. Would you vote for Trump if he what? Wait, what? If Trump came out as trans, it'd still be she would still be Trump. She would still be Trump. I don't get it. Yeah, I was about to time out. I'm watching. The job. Thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. What? That's not... No. The exact opposite. How? The exact opposite. I feel like this is what you do. You help educate or influence people. Dems aren't sleeping. They have representatives in conservative districts who would barely get them. We have razor-thin majorities. Again, Biden was the anti-Trump vote, but America didn't really vote for Dems more in. Yeah, so it's just an obvious troll. Anyways, moving on from the obvious troll. That's enough. I'm not getting stun-locked by this nonsense. It's very simple. If Trump tomorrow comes out as trans, she would still be Trump. Period. End of story. I don't think they were trolling. They were from Zach's stream. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it seems like bait to me. I ain't taking that bait. Sorry. I'm not taking that bait. I'm not taking that bait. Am I okay? I'm molding, alright? I'm molding. That troll is making fun of your inclusive, accepting views. Right. But what if capitalism turns into communism? Yeah, there we go. Right, like, they would still be a terrible human being. Like, I don't know how else to tell you. If we want to fight climate change, we must get the local and state governments to act. The federal government obviously can't function in the way they need it to fight. I think that, yeah, don't take the bait. True. Yeah, I think that while it is true that we within our purview should be doing what we can in our local and state politics, it is imperative that we have some type of national response, because it would then be a leg to stand on to then go on the world stage, and say, hey, we've got to fix this problem. Look what we did. Look how much emissions we emitted. Look how our plans worked out or are working out based on projections. How can we help? Except we can't do that on the national stage while Biden is increasing the permits for drilling, while the Biden administration is asking for more oil to be pumped. I mean, we can't sit on the world stage and say things like, hey, everybody needs to get on board with climate change plans. And then just look at us like, yeah, okay. I don't even live in America, but I have to constantly worry about American climate policy. Yeah, of course, because everything affects us. The federal government can't function. That's right. Right now, the government isn't functioning as needed, as necessary. Who says the politics and government make sense? True. On behalf of the U.S., I'm sorry, but you have needed California consumer. But you have noticed that California consumer labels have resulted in laws have resulted in national change. True. There we go. That's the solution. Tap the SPR and send. Yeah, exactly. Instead of tapping the SPR for more and more oil, we could tap our resources, our vast ability to have resources, into solar, wind, batteries, whatever it is that's renewable. Construct technologies to make sure that these are closed loop methods of sustainability, so on and so forth. Politics is the art of looking for trouble, finding it everywhere, diagnosing it incorrectly, and applying the wrong remedies. After love Final Fantasy, nice. We need to build the fight from the local up. This is federal down approach just doesn't work. While I agree that at this point the federal government is, and for all intents and purposes, absolutely useless when it comes to fighting climate change, I do think that they need to play a part, but the only way they play a part is if we, ourselves, build that movement from the ground up, like you said. Fight me when in a video game. I'm Australian. Oh no. Oh no. Look at the Australians who was looking up for an apology from the right they give us Rupert Murdoch. True. I hold this against their entire country. Oh man. Say sorry, Zach, for your daddy Rupert. True. The chap owes, I think, the world an apology as well. Anyways, the TLDR is, yet again, it seems like inaction is going to be the name of the game. And so be it. That being said, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is necessary. It was needed. Of course, you do need to fix our crumbling infrastructure, but that should be kind of Tuesday afternoon. That should be baseline. That should be something that just is. It's not even worthy of news coverage. Like passing things like infrastructure shouldn't be even worthy of news coverage. It should just be like a Tuesday afternoon for a legislative session every year. Be like, oh yeah, hey guys, We need X to fix the roads and the bridges and stuff like that. Yeah, all right, let's do it. And do it that way, right? I mean, like, these things are just kind of par for the course. That's how it should be standard. That's it. Electrification will mostly be completed by 2030. Whether the powers that be like it or not, we can help it or hinder it, but it is inevitable. 1.7 trillion for human programs isn't in action. Respectfully disagree. Billions for infrastructure is not sleeping. The coronavirus bill, billions of people is not sleeping. Yeah, I don't disagree that it's not like in action necessarily. I'm just saying that the promises, the campaign promises, weren't just this, right? Like this is kind of par for the course. This is like standard procedure, to be honest, right? That being said, it's not that it's nothing, but I feel like this is standard procedure. Whereas if we add things like universal college, expansion of Medicare, Medicare? Yes, expansion of Medicare, child tax credits, things like this. That's something. The American Rescue Plan absolutely is necessary. Objectively did good, but of course, it's like the bare minimum the federal government should be doing to try to stabilize ourselves. I've streamed like 200 plus hours this month of educational content, but yeah, I'm the bad guy. I'm just saying that there was a lot of things that were promised and were important to be included in this bill, and they weren't, and are most likely not. And it's frustrating because the time is ticking. Glasgow, Scotland, former President Obama made a plea to young people to adopt a more conciliatory approach to climate change activism on Monday. It will not be enough to simply mobilize the converted. It will not be enough to preach to the choir. It will be not enough to ramp up intensity among people who already know about climate change and care deeply about it. Really. Yeah, I blames the chap. I blames the chap. I'd love to see who opposed what parts of the bill. Yeah, that's a good question. Speaking at the UN Climate Conference, Obama devoted a substantial portion of a nearly hour-long speech to addressing not delegates but watching in person, but the younger generation of viewers online. The most important energy for this movement is coming from young people. They have more at stake in this fight than anybody else. That's why I want to spend the rest of my time talking directly to young people, maybe watching and wondering what they can do to help. Yeah. I have a pro-climate change take. The hotter the planet, the more evaporation, the more fresh water. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yes. It's a bit annoying how much negotiations go on behind closed doors. Yep. They care deeply about climate change continuance. There was a maneuver that harked back to a swift rise in national politics and it's upset that 2008 Democratic primary victory over then Senator Hillary Clinton, which was largely powered by enthusiasm of young voters. Yeah. Why? Why? Why did they vote for him? Do you see where this is a problem? Do you see where when you can offer a very robust progressive platform that is universally very popular? In fact, the Obama election was one of the most historic turnouts, right? It was it was a very energized campaign and movement. Why? Because of the campaign promises. Because of the platform that was supposedly, going to come to pass, or at least something, except it didn't. And do you know what happened when it didn't? Do you know what happened when it didn't? If we could put John Doe and say this is the reason we have hands that could easily win more, and then we could more easily win and more accurately lose election based on what they really believe. The more evaporation, the more hot springs, so climate change is actually pretty boggers. No. When you add the Biden's rescue bill, the infrastructure bill, and even if he only gets a few $100 billion through reconciliation, Biden will have passed more meaningful legislation than FDR. I'm not convinced. Maybe so in terms of like the numbers, the raw numbers, but what I'm interested in is what people see and what people like see in their pockets and what palpable change is visible to them. That's my question. Will people see that? And furthermore, while that is true that these things were passed and necessary, these were more like stabilizers. These were more like stabilizers because of all the stuff that we've been going through, right? All the economic stuff, the pandemic, all of that. These are just these are just the baseline stabilizers. We need something more. Trumped some more language and was memeable, so young people were like me were attracted to him. Yeah, but I think that's not just it. That's why Biden needs to sign his name on every new bridge and charging stations like Trump signed his name on the stimulus check. Yeah, sure, fine, fair, because like again, these things are necessary, but these things are simply stabilizers from the issues that we've been having. A bill is too large. When people vote against the bill, they can usually find something to defend their action, but if we knew that they specifically had a section removed, or what they negotiated would go back... would go back a long way in showing their intentions or lack of good faith. True. The system of corporate donations need to be abolished, man. I don't give two fucks if it's free speech or guaranteed under your constitution. Well, I don't know about that. If you, like... Did you know that the word POG doesn't appear once in the Constitution? It's clearly a document that is not suitable for today. Wait. Yeah. Alright, so abolish the Constitution and make sure that the word poggers is included. This is a great point. Let's hear everyone know how much the thing passed have helped instead of focus on what hasn't. And one hasn't been done, this will get more Dem voters, and we can keep chipping away at it. I agree, rewriting Constitution, but not with what we have in office right now. They're idiots. Yeah, but what if they added the word poggers in the Constitution? Would that be okay? If someone comes to take over Australia to stop us from burning too much, you can let it be the communist Vietnam. So here's my problem. That is true that we did have some movement. Some things are important, some things needed to be done, whether we liked it or not. But what happens when we need some type of palpable thing to show people, right? Something like, for example, the tax child credit would be necessary. I agree, Republicans are already in good poisoning the well, we don't need help. Yeah, the United Poggers. Wait, go back. The United Poggers of America. Poggers should appear in every constitution on Earth. True. Boo. The first one, hey dude, equality under the law is pretty based in poggers. Yeah, exactly. No cap. No cap. Hey dudes, no cap, equality under law is pretty based in poggers. If it wasn't for the FP, the bills wouldn't have to be so big. Dems have to squeeze everything they want in one bill and vote reconciliation style. Yeah, exactly. That's in there. But see, that's my point, Zen, right? That's on them. They're the ones that have this. They're the ones that have this on their court. The ball is in their court. We need to make bills smaller, more numerous. There's way more good things that aren't turned down because the bill is too unlikable. While I agree with you, I see that the gridlock in Washington is so tough that I'm not sure, like, oof, I don't know. You're basing the premise that, like, the other party is negotiating in good faith. Rewrite it in a series of ones and zeros so that AI can understand it too. Yeah, exactly. If you had a political party, what would you name it? I don't know. Why aren't my emotes showing? I'm getting heated. Refresh. Refresh. The base labor poverty. There we go. The based labor poverty. My political party would just be the common sense party. Nice. Be an interesting read. I wonder if there's any recent rewrites of the Constitution using the modern slang. Have AI rewrite it in modern text slang. If child tax credits pass, I'm a marry and become a dad. That comes with a price. The enemy of my enemy is poggers. Did I just rewrite the Sanskrit treaty? True. Treaty. If they get rid of the FB, the filibuster, ours can use it to take away voting rights when they are in power. Then it's a wrap. FB has to be adjusted where they can have talks for days as to why they're FBing. That's another one. Zen, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to deal with it because, like, on one hand, how do we get stuff done though? Jesus Christ. That one is a bit tougher. A United Labor Party? Yeah, that's nice. I would take that. Yeah, I don't know what to do about the filibuster. A part of me is just saying, like, just do away with it because, like, there was a point in time where we didn't have it. And that's it. And move on. I don't know. Maybe I'll call it the National People's Party just to, reel in the right-wing vote. Ooh, I don't know. It depends because you might inadvertently find yourself with some unsavory folks who are thinking that it's a nationalistic party. Imagine what progressives are going through. Serious head smacking? Yeah, of course, but unfortunately, when it comes to the progressive caucus, there's like literally a handful of them. So yeah, I would be like hitting my head against the wall in Roblox. I'd rather there not be a president. Now that's an interesting thought. The talking filibuster was good enough, so bring it back to the old days. Which popular Twitch streamer would you vote as president? I don't know Pokemon's politics. I don't know who I would vote. for memes, but for voting for practicality, I'd vote ADT. The party in power in India is literally called this, in my opinion. They're a leftist party. Huh. Just join the libertarians? Yeah, the problem with the libertarians is that they, well, watch enough, watch enough Majority Report, but the reality is, I don't believe they have enough to make any type of, palpable movement. Join the Green Party? No. No. Isn't the leader of India a literal fascist? I don't know, but I do know that he is incredibly far-right national. Oh, wait. Why not roll an 8 billion sided die for Supreme World Leader? True. If talks are going to alone be 2/3 majority, then it should be able to vote on the table to bill after a later date. Gotcha. It is incredibly far right, yes. Incredibly far right, if not outright, if not outright fash. I prefer a workers' government. You and I have very different wording for left. Anyways, cute animal video, folks. Hey, Mazumi. Kanye West. No. No more celebrities, please.
Our drunken sailor because he was very uncoordinated. We called him our drunken sailor because he was very uncoordinated.
You're silly. You need to practice a little bit more. You got it. Oh.
Chester and his siblings came into my care when they were 2 weeks old. He would love to just lay at the crook of my elbow. He really wanted to just be with me or be with my husband.
Did you find the best spot?
So Chester was often away from his siblings.
Where are you going?
But that also could have been kind of a first warning sign that something was wrong with him. Sometimes kittens will be separate from their siblings if they're not feeling well. After a couple days, he just suddenly stopped eating, got really limp and lethargic, and it happened really fast. Chester had fading kitten syndrome, and I had not really dealt with it before.
Aww.
I was up with him, just holding him and begging him to pull through. I made a promise to him, if you fight through this, I will take care of you forever. I will never leave you. After a few days, I noticed a huge difference in him. He just became a lot healthier all of a sudden.
Look at that belly.
I was able to exhale and be like, he's gonna be okay. I've fostered over 50 kittens, and he's my one and only foster fail.
You see birds? You too.
Seeing him healthy and happy and thriving inspired me to take in more challenging fostering cases. I was really inspired to create my own rescue. Chester was definitely the catalyst for this rescue.
Hey, Peter Parker, how's it going?
He's so good with the foster kittens, too.
Chester is about to fall off.
He loves to just hang out with them and groom them. It's great for Chester to be able to give them that nurturing. We call him King Chester because he rules the house, even with the kittens.
Oh, People Parker would be such a good name.
He's very stoic, he's really calm, and the kittens will be really crazy. It's just funny, he has definitely a regal air to him with the way that he interacts with the kittens. He knows he's King Chester.
Oh.
I think he really understands that love and affection is meaningful. I'm so happy that Chester gets to mentor all the kittens that come struggling the most.
He's such a good boy, Chaz.
There's something about kittens that come in really sick and really struggling that they have this just love for life. I know Chester has this. You can just tell he loves life. He's so happy. Seeing him healthy and happy and thriving, it's great.
Come on, buddy.
I'm really, really grateful for him.
Hey, buddy. You need attention?
Yes. This is what we needed. Pets can be the best. Pets are the best. Pets are the best. I'm gonna piss off now. Bye. Thanks for stopping by. I needed that palate cleanser, I must admit. Drew. Especially, ooh. Alright, so... We've got, Anyways, the whole point of me bringing this up is like, dude, my entire argument is based on the idea that, like, it turns out that when you run on progressive politics and you win because people wanted change and you don't deliver said change, people get disillusioned, and that's my worry at the end of the day. At the end of the day, that's my worry. And I especially have concerns when it comes to what that means for the future, and it definitely has concerns what it means for climate change, as this is it. This is down to the last wire. This is the crossroads of what we do or not do will determine which scenario we get. Because let's face it, once the midterms are over, which I expect the Democratic Party to lose, then definitely no action gets done. Definitely no action gets done. And then what? We have the last 2 years of nothing, which then comes 2024, and I suspect that the Democratic Party will lose. Again, this is not me gloating or not me wanting things to happen like this way, but I'm just saying that it's looking very scary. Because let's say that scenario plays out, right? Sure. The GOP wins. The GOP has the presidency, the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court. That's another 4 years. The next election is when? 2028. 2028. Time's up. Time's up. I'm back. Hey, I'm glad your emotes are working. Time to use my crypto fund to fund my dream build of a climate change proof bunker. I don't think that's possible. It's a simulation, so it doesn't matter. True. I don't see like any chance that we can attack climate change. We're not able to act in a way where everybody contributes a little bit. People aren't even willing to wear a freaking mask to protect themselves and others because they feel that it, quotes, violates their freedoms. While that may be true, Peter Parker, I think that I don't think that just kind of throwing that on individual people is really it's really addressing the major problems, right? Because like maybe I could do everything right. Maybe my entire neighborhood can do everything right. Maybe my entire city can do everything right. Maybe my entire state can do everything right. But that will not compare with the massive emissions problems that we're having with corporations and the agriculture industry, the fossil fuel industry. It's not going to come close. Unfortunately, it's going to need a governmental approach. Richest 1% account for 16% of total emissions. Their luxury lifestyles. Yep. How about we colonize the planet? It's not possible. That's not an option. How about we have a planet that we should stop killing? That's a more feasible thing to stop what's happening now than it is to figure out how to get off this planet. It's not feasible right now. Like, that is a unironic pipe dream to think that we have the technology or we will be able to develop the technology in time. And still, the lesson being, the lesson that needed to be learned was not learned, right? Because let's say, I don't know, some magical circumstance of events happen where we are able to go to another planet. We'll just do the same thing there. How about we have yeah, exactly. Fair enough. Throwing it on the individual planet, more like people are not willing to wear masks. It shows a thing about human nature. That's a good point. That's a good point. And just educate yourself for when Yellowstone blows. Oh man, that's the extinction event there, in and of itself. Anyways, the TLDR is that it's really funny, coming from this guy, trying to lecture us about climate change. It's really funny. I'm just gonna move to the Jobsham house. True. Tucker, we've got a few minutes. I can't watch the full thing, but we've got to break it down, probably in a couple sessions. I kind of like got lost in the weeds there.
Popular cable news show on television. His most recent rating. Tucker Carlson hosts the most popular cable news show on television. His most recent ratings show, he averaged 3.2 million viewers a night on Fox News with his Tucker Carlson Tonight program. It debuted on November 14th, 2016, originally at 7 p.m., but following the cancellation of The O'Reilly Factor, Tucker inherited the 8 p.m. time slot in 2017. The show grew in popularity, topping 4.33 million viewers in the second quarter of 2020, the most viewers ever for a cable news program in the United States. The show proved so popular that Fox News expanded its relationship with Tucker Carlson in the spring of 2021 by giving him a morning show, Tucker Carlson Today, that airs 3 times a week, and Tucker Carlson Originals, which airs once a month, both of these appearing on the Fox Nation streaming platform. If you're not familiar with who Tucker Carlson is, a very brief recap is that he lived a middle-class life as a child until his father married into the wealthy Swanson family, whose fortune come from those frozen TV dinners. His privileged life led him to a career in journalism, where he wrote for a few conservative outlets. In 2000, he worked at CNN on a show called Crossfire. This show ended when he was embarrassed by Jon Stewart on camera, and Carlson did not renew his CNN contract. He then spent some time at PBS, had a show on MSNBC for a few years, before finally finding a home at Fox News in 2009, where he was eventually given his own show in 2017. If you want more details about the history of Tucker Carlson, I highly recommend this recap of his life from Some More News. With all this Tucker Carlson content on offer, I decided to consume a whole week's worth of his stuff to get an idea of what it's like to be in the Tucker Carlson audience, and what it feels like to get the full effect of his work. This is for the week of October 18th, 2021.
Now, off to the Garden of Madness.
The first part of every episode of Tucker Carlson Tonight is the feature story, typically ranging from 15 to 20 minutes. It makes up half of each episode and is usually the part that has everyone buzzing the next day. These feature stories are largely centered around a monologue where Carlson builds his case, and they're capped off with a brief interview. The October 18th edition of the show offers a great example. It began with the recent passing of former United States Secretary of State Colin Powell.
Unlike other people in Washington, Colin Powell got where he was on merit, and that was inspiring to watch.
And eventually it turned into a rant about how Americans are living in a medical apartheid state.
We have a division, medical apartheid. We have rules, but some people have exempted themselves from the rules, and they're not ashamed of it.
Here's how he made the jump. The crucial step in drawing a connection between Powell's death and this authoritarian nightmare is that Powell died of complications related to COVID-19, even though he had been vaccinated. Once this connection is made, 2 minutes into this 14-minute segment, it stops being about Powell entirely.
Like almost everyone his age, Colin Powell was fully vaccinated against COVID. And yet, according to his family and doctors, Colin Powell died of COVID. Of course, that fact does not make his death any less sad, nor is it unusual. Many thousands of vaccinated Americans have died of COVID. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield announced just today that about 40% of all recent COVID deaths in the state of Maryland, for example, are among those who've had both shots.
This is a deeply deceptive stat. Looking at Maryland alone, the 8th most vaccinated state, with, at the time of writing, 65.8% of its population being fully vaccinated. This would mean that breakthrough cases, that is, cases of vaccinated people suffering from COVID, would be more common because such a large percentage of the state is fully
Legalized weed in
vaccinated.
Costa
The State
Rica.
Department of Health agrees, writing in a
True. It's only 39K for an acre there. Yeah. He has so many questions that are easier to answer, but he doesn't answer them because he wants to pay to lie. Yeah, he's just asking questions, guys.
statement. As the number of our residents who are vaccinated continues to increase, we expect to see an increase in the proportion of COVID-related deaths occurring in vaccinated individuals. Many of these deaths are linked to comorbidities that make patients more vulnerable.
Even on its face, though, if most people are fully vaccinated and the majority of deaths are still attributed to the unvaccinated, it seems like getting a vaccine is a good idea. A wider view of the numbers available from the CDC reveals that COVID deaths are dramatically more common among the unvaccinated, with the unvaccinated being 11
Obviously.
times more likely to die of COVID than the vaccinated. Powell's death is an anecdote, a high-profile case of something that isn't terribly common. It's being used to push a narrative about skepticism towards the vaccine. It's all a pretense to get to the real message of the segment.
Well, it tells you you've been lied.
I would also like to add to that Colin Powell was incredibly immunocompromised because he was dealing with, I think, I'm not going to say which type of cancer, but he was dealing with cancer, and he was severely immunocompromised, which is, as you know, that even despite being vaccinated, if you are immunocompromised, it's just not the same. It's just not the same.
Too. Vaccines may be highly useful for some people, but across a population, they do not solve COVID.
The language here is crucial. What does solve COVID even mean? That a vaccine will completely eliminate it? Vaccines rarely eradicate illnesses, with the only transmissible one among humans that has been wiped out so far being smallpox. The vague usage of solve and how it will never be achieved is how Carlson can imply that the vaccine really isn't worth getting, at least for most people, without outright denying it has any significant effect at all. His earlier statement implies that it's a very narrow effect.
Vaccines may be highly useful for some people.
The COVID vaccine has been demonstrated to dramatically reduce one's chance of death, but the number of deaths aren't the only talking point Carlson uses. Carlson also says the vaccine doesn't effectively slow the spread of COVID. This also isn't true. Craig Spencer, an emergency medicine physician and director of global health and emergency medicine at New York Presbyterian Columbia University Medical Center, writing for The Atlantic, said, "To spread the coronavirus, you have to have the coronavirus. And vaccinated people are far less likely to have the coronavirus, period." Even in instances of breakthrough cases where a vaccinated person is infected with the Delta variant of COVID, preliminary data shows that transmission is reduced by 63%, albeit for a period of a few months. For the Alpha variant of COVID, transmission is even more greatly reduced by a vaccine, increasing to 73%. A lot of this data is still being peer-reviewed, but so far the majority of the science seems to be saying the exact opposite of what Tucker Carlson is asserting. But he doesn't say any of it in an attempt to accurately discuss the science of the day. It's all a guise to get to what he really wants to talk about. President Biden is demanding obedience, and people are fearfully obeying him.
They're afraid of you. They can't explain why they're afraid of you. The president told them that you are dangerous, and so they're afraid. The question is, over time, what does that do to your most cherished relationships, to your friendships, to your family relationships? What does it do to the country?
The Biden administration is, apparently, using the pandemic to destroy American families, or as Tucker would put it.
America has once again become what it was when Colin Powell got his commission in the Army. America has become segregated, not between black and white, but between vaccinated and unvaccinated.
This is how Tucker creates the illusion of a coherent narrative. Colin Powell being alive during segregation is purely incidental, and segregation itself was a deliberate attempt to restrict black people from positions of power and influence within American society because of the color of their skin, which is hardly the same as not letting someone who is far more likely to carry an infectious disease eat at an Applebee's. But what makes Tucker Carlson particularly effective is that he isn't just spreading partisan talking points. His monologues also include a healthy dose of conspiracy theories.
This is a pandemic of the Chinese government, born in a lab in Wuhan and brought here either
A
accidentally or
healthy
not. That's
dose.
the fact of it.
This is also not a fact. The current state of the debate, according to an article in The New Yorker, is that there is no conclusive evidence to support that claim, and most scientists who study viruses are inclined to say it was a naturally occurring virus. The most plausible version of this theory is that it was being studied at this lab and was accidentally leaked because of a lack of safety precautions, not that it was created by the Chinese government. The rant continues like this for nearly 10 minutes. It's a fire hose of misinformation. And by 10 minutes in, it's spiraling into madness as a few seconds of video of Joe Biden not wearing a mask at a restaurant is used as evidence of him declaring himself some kind of grand ruler, as only servants wear masks.
But he didn't wear a mask. Why? Because masks are for servants. And he's the president. He's not a servant.
The official explanation here is that Biden was eating at a restaurant and was in the process of putting his mask back on, having taken it off to eat his food. Something that I'm inclined to believe since you can clearly see him holding the mask as he walks. The video was widely circulated on right-wing media as Biden flaunting the rules, but Tucker Carlson takes it even further, saying Biden meant to be filmed to send a message to Americans. A message that, ironically, never would have been heard had not right-wing media figures, like himself, obsessed over it. This clip itself is not a story, but it does offer a wonderful example of how right-wing media takes innocuous footage to concoct a narrative. Biden being slow to put his mask on is now him telling America that he is their god king. And wasn't this whole segment about Colin Powell's death? And now we're talking about how Joe Biden being filmed in a restaurant not wearing a mask for a few seconds means he's crowning himself the emperor of America? It's almost as if this whole monologue was written independent of Powell's death, and then that part was inserted later to make the narrative seem newsworthy. And one last detail about Colin Powell Carson did eventually share with us also seemed important.
So at the beginning of the show, we told you about Colin Powell. We left out that Colin Powell was suffering from a number of different health problems. But of course, that's the point. The point of vaccinating the vulnerable is so people with other underlying health problems won't die of COVID. But unfortunately, that didn't work in the case of General Powell, and it didn't work for many thousands of other Americans. And of course, that's the point we're making in the first place.
Colin Powell was suffering from multiple myeloma, which compromised his immune system, making the vaccine less effective. An important detail if you're trying to claim that the vaccine itself isn't effective. A detail that completely undermines his entire rant, which is why it happens more than 25 minutes after the segment is over, just as the show's going off the air. Because this rant was a con, and Tucker Carlson knows it. But that monologue was, believe it or not, the strongest and most convincing one I saw that week. I want to talk about two other ones that show us how things can get really crazy on this show. On October 20th, Tucker Carlson started a show.
Numbers are hard. Hey, reason I love the source, that source better than Fox Newsy. I agreed, I'm not sure why Mike is pushing it so hard. I'm sure he doesn't say to stop with solar, but in the meantime, Tumbo Bombington is an idiot. I don't know about that. I think he's very deliberate in what he's doing. I agree, Danarchist. When we say soon enough that we could be 10 to 50 years, simply put, it's not soon enough that we can commit to it and do solar, wind, and other green technology until we get it right. Yep. Exactly correct. He is. He is incredibly talented. He knows exactly what to say, and more importantly, how to say things, how to make sure, that the narrative is spun in a way, how things are spun in a way that gives people to elicit a emotional response. Hey, Matthew, I'm taking college algebra 1 and I can read percentages better than Tucker. Put me on TV. Yeah, but can you spin narratives and can you make people feel the way he can? More importantly, you have gotta do it in a way that make sure you really target your audience. Have you looked at those Discord podcasts yet? No, I have not yet, James Napper. I promise I will. Do you have a right-wing ideology? He has like a semi right-wing. I can see through his BS narrative because I have a scientific background. I understand numbers and statistics, yeah, which is kind of inconvenient for Tucker over here. That's why we vaccinate everyone around the person that's with a compromised immune system. If no one around them wants them get sick, they won't. The fact that people with compromised immunity still die even with the vaccine proves we need more people vaccinated. Yeah, it's the exact opposite. Are you an heir to a giant fortune? I don't think so. I've seen political talks. I do not think so. Anyways, unfortunately, it is 11:26, and I do have to get going. Then sorry you can't be on Fox. True. Man, I do have to get going, folks. I do appreciate you guys having it in here. That's where you and John Stolso come in. You both guests and create what I need to do to keep people watching. True, I got you. You have a good one, Pat Rad. Unfortunately, I do have to get going. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. Thank you, Zachap, for the raid. Thank you for all the new follows. And of course, Don't make sure on your way out, hit that follow button. Join us on the YouTubes, all right? Join us on the YouTubes. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. 10,000 questions from Tucker. Drew. Make dab. All right, I got you. There we go. A dab has been completed. Have a great day. You have a great day. Thank you for the stream. You have a great day. Thank you, Waxing Philosophical. I appreciate that. Alright, folks, as always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! We'll finish this tomorrow. Alright, folks, let's head on over to Dan Simpson. Hang tight. Hang tight, folks. That's right, Kalo. We're heading out in 5. You have a great day. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. See ya. Oh no, a raid? As the stream is ending. No, this happened again? Wait, did it? Wait, Waxing Philosophical, is that a raid? Shoot. Okay. Well, raiders, if you're still here, follow us. And, make sure you give Dan Simpson a lot of love. And I apologize for that. Make sure you join us here Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you follow Waxing Philosophical. Thank you guys. See ya.